I'm hitting record, and I'm going to let Carolyn start us off.
Welcome to our school board meeting. This is going to be a different virtual meeting. We are meeting, we have to have a location, and that is...
Yeah, I can't hear you, Carolyn, very well.
How about now? Are we good?
Maybe it's because I'm on mute.
Yeah, you've got to unmute yourself.
Okay,
There
we'll
we
go.
go.
We'll start again. Okay, now can you hear me? Is everybody there? Okay, we'll start out with our anchor location for this virtual meeting is the district office at 291 North Main in Beaver. All participants except the superintendent, Mr. Burke and I are in their own locations. And I think we have been given previous instructions by the superintendent. So if you have any questions, raise your hand on the little participant side. We're going to start our meeting with kind of the procedures that we're going to go through. All votes are going to have to be roll call votes so that it can be recorded, because we're not here seeing that. So everything will be on a roll call vote. And I've asked the superintendent to lead us in prayer to start out.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful that we could be gathered here for this school board meeting, and that we have this means to be able to have a meeting in a safe environment, and be able to meet from our homes and have people participate through watching the board meeting on video as well. We thank Thee for the many blessings that we enjoy. We're thankful for the good health we're enjoying in Beaver County, and that we've been blessed not to have the illness and virus here in the county so far. And we ask you to continue to bless and protect us and help us to make good choices, and to keep the virus from spreading in our area. We ask you at this time to be with our families and our school age children. We ask to help them to be comforted and strengthened during this time, help them to find meaningful things that they can be doing in their daily activities along with their schoolwork, that they may uplift their spirits, and that they may be able to be positive while we're all sheltering in our homes. We ask you to continue to watch over us and help us to make wise decisions for the school district. Help our teachers in their efforts to continue to provide meaningful lessons, and to learn new ways to reach students in this online format, that they may help students progress and accomplish the things that they need to at the end of this school year. And help us to have a great ending of the school year together in the environment that we're in, and to find things that will help us to really celebrate and emphasize the accomplishments of so many of our fine students, especially our seniors and our kids throughout the school system. I ask you again to be with us and watch over us and keep us healthy and strong. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you. Now we're going to have Todd lead us in the pledge.
Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there any public that's on that we know of? Have we got anybody else on?
we won't have anybody public on the Zoom side of this. They can only watch on the YouTube side of it. And if the public has questions or comment, they will need to submit those to the school district.
Okay, thanks. We don't have any recognitions, except that I do want to say that we did have, with the Sterling Scholars, we had a winner from Milford in the category of technical, no, what was it? It was the agriculture. And we had a runner-up in Beaver on the drama side, and that was Tyra Air. So that was good. Okay. I'm going down through there. School fees.
Do you want to approve the minutes first?
Oh, yeah. How did I miss that? Okay. We are approving the minutes of our short board meeting on the 24th of March. So if we have a motion,
Make a motion.
okay, Lisa made a motion.
I'll second it.
Duke, is that you?
Yes.
If you would say your name, then we'll have that on the recording.
Duke
Okay.
seconds.
Duke seconded the motion. Are there any corrections? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote on this. Lisa?
Aye. Oh, do I raise the hand? Do I do the hand thing or do I say?
No,
aye?
No, just say aye. It's all recorded. We're good. Okay, Lisa said aye. Duke?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved for the March 24th meeting. Okay, school fees. If you remember last time, we didn't have that as an action item.
That's correct.
And we are just putting it on here to approve the fees that we talked about in our last meeting. So we need a motion to approve that.
This is Duke. I'll make a motion. We accept the school fees for 2020 and 2021.
Okay,
Chris seconds.
is that Chris?
Yes. Did you hear that?
Chris?
I thought so.
Okay, Chris seconded the motion. Okay, roll call vote again. Lisa? Lisa? Okay, Duke? Yes.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, thank you. The next one that we've got on the action items is the school meals fee increase. And we've got Randy on. He's going to talk about that just a minute before we have a motion on that, so.
And Randy's a presenter at this point. Randy should be able to present.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hopefully my screen's up. Everybody can see that. Okay, briefly, just wanted to give a little update on what's been going on with food service over the past few weeks in regards to the COVID-19 situation and some things that have happened that we feel as a district have been very, very influential for our families and very beneficial and helpful when it was announced originally that we were going to go to a soft closure across the state, our district was able to look into um, a program that's offered federally throughout the states. It's also worked in with state programs, which is called Seamless Summer. And Seamless Summer is an option for parents to bring children to school sites to eat and to participate in activities as the soft closure came into effect, and basically across the United States. There was a lot of applications that went in, and we also participated in applying for this program. And based on numbers of free and reduced lunch in throughout the district, we have some locations that were above 50% free and reduced at different times during this school year. Those locations were Beaver High School, Milford School, and also Milford Elementary School, all exceeded that 50% rate. So through a submission to the state, our district was able to receive the Seamless Summer Open option, which means that we qualified to feed all of the children within the boundaries of those schools within the county. And since Beaver High School is congruent with Belknap as far as boundaries go, that occupy that area, Minersville and Milford Elementary also occupies the same boundaries as the high school. So this program was up and running. We submitted for different waivers that are also affiliated with this program. And on the screen, you can see the available waivers and the ones that we requested through the district. So we were able to get several of those approved. We're actually able to give multiple meals at one time. Our district right now is elected to give lunch and breakfast together each day. We do not have to participate in the after school program. And our meal pattern on there, that means if any of the components that make a meal registered and complete, if we don't fulfill that, we have to ask for a waiver each day that happens. And we haven't had to do that up to date. Our ladies have been fantastic on filling all the components that are required to complete those meals. We also applied for a waiver that we can have parents or guardians come and pick up those meals for the students each day. The non-area eligibility does not require, because we were able to get our entire county eligible through those guidelines of those different schools. The on-site monitoring requests are waived because of this pandemic, and we've worked to get that up to speed. Obviously, the 3 locations are listed there, and the Seamless Summer program has been an absolute positive thing for our parents. As most of you know, several of our parents are trying to work from home, and school has been a very cumbersome event to try to coordinate lifestyles, work, and everything. And we found that this program has been one of the most stable things for our kids in the county each day. It's a chance for some stability and to put a really good word out for the National School Lunch Program. So we've seen a lot of benefits from that so far. When we decided to look into this initially, we contacted Lane and Jeep and kind of pushed out the idea of trying to be very precise with our ordering for the district. We thought that we'd be able to also push a lot of movement to the district website. So you can see here on your screens, parents are actually able to log in just to the website. On the screen, they can receive updates of what the district's doing with the closures, and daily they can select a request for meals. This is the form that parents actually get on and fill out each day. It has guidelines and regulations on who is eligible, who is not, and we have 4 pickup locations. We have those 3 schools, and we have found that we did have a need in Greenville as well for pickup. This program is offered to all kids in the county K-12 participants, homeschool kids. We've had a really good turnout so far. Here is just a little estimate of what is going on. I have each of our 3 facilities daily. They bring us counts in for monitoring. And you can see that we, by 7:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, our ladies are pushing out close to 2,200 meals countywide, which is unbelievable and exceptional. They have a variety. We've worked with the health department in southern Utah to be able to provide other things. We've got those approved, and we are the only district, I believe, in the state of Utah that is up and running on this type of a setup where parents get on every day and order. And this is really key in my presentation today, is the component of parents being aware of how to access and how to state that they want their kids to be fed. Moving forward, some of the things that I want to discuss today of our food service and what some of the problems and things that we've come across this year. We've had 2 different situations where I've met with parents about things that our community would like to see happening more. We presented this year with the idea of choice and bringing in sack lunches to the schools, which has been accepted at a tremendous level. However, it's been very difficult on our current meal schedule and calendar to coordinate where we can predict every day how many kids want sack lunches and how that correlates back into the calendar, because currently our meal setup is for multiple months. And during this process throughout the year, we've decided that we'd like to work towards getting a 4-week calendar for our hot meals. And what that means is that this 4-week cycle will reset each month. And by doing that, we're better able to not be wasteful and be able to keep some of these non-perishable items, such as things that are frozen. We're able to hold those for another 3 weeks, keeping them within health code for use again. One of the biggest complaints that we've had from a Belknap situation and Minersville is that our parents felt that the word choice meant that they could choose every day by looking at the calendar to see if they wanted their child to select a sack lunch. And with that option there's some other things that come into play. Obviously, commodities are a part of our process for feeding the kids every day and throughout the year. There's things that the state has placed that help with that. When the sack lunches come into effect, it does counterweigh back against what we currently have been doing. But we've felt during this process, and especially right now, our setup is such that if parents want a meal for their children each day, they got into a routine on selecting that for the next day. So this is a sample I put in of that 4-week rotation. And the things that we wanted to do within that was fulfill the requirements, but then again, offer some of the things that kids traditionally like. This input has come from all of the locations throughout the district on what kids enjoy and how that fits into commodities throughout the district. One thing this year that I wanted everybody to be aware of is just before the soft closure went into effect, we were actually in the black for the first time in March this year. We functioned in the red throughout the entire year, trying to make things work, working within what we had, and it was a stressful environment. At the same time, trying to offer things that kids like, that they will eat, and that they will participate in the nutrition program. So some of the things back against that also is that if this process is to work and that we want to discuss with the community that we could actually open up the idea of an option to them every day, just as we're set up now, and the way that Lane and Jeep have this going is that our community could actually go in the night before and look at that calendar and talk to their child and say, tomorrow is a roast turkey dinner. Is that something that you would like, or you want to opt into the sack lunch for that day? They could make that decision the night before. That information would be shot out to each of the locations. Our ladies in the morning, when they go to work, they can see the actual number of kids and the student's name that are requesting that sack lunch for the day. And in doing that, they can prepare the right amount of food to not be wasteful and to be very thrifty with our budget. But part of that process is, as we looked into this, and Todd's discussed this a little bit with us, we haven't addressed our lunch fees for quite a long time. And I feel like at this point right now is a good opportunity for us to look at it, to check the other surrounding districts, and maybe come to a compromise that we can, moving forward, give our kids that choice element each day. And Todd and I have discussed the option, also perhaps salads in that same discussion, that we could work these things in where the choice element is something that really is available for everybody, and that they have that option every day. So as we researched through, Todd put together a list of a lot of the surrounding districts and what they're currently charging. And I had Michelle go back with our our breakfast of some of the closer surrounding districts, so we could make a comparison and look what's going on. And as you can see, our current prices right here we are extremely below what the averages are for the various districts, and have been functioning that way for quite a few years. Oops, let's go back. Todd, do you have record of when the last time that we did increase our fees, and when that approximately was?
2009.
So 2009 is what's being indicated.
Yes, so as you can see in this diagram here, we are well below those averages for several of the different districts. When we came through and looked at this situation, Millard School District in the lunch area, we felt was amongst all of the school districts that are surrounding and close, we felt that they had an average that was, we believe, moderate enough, but then also enough that we could potentially move forward with this choice option in the upcoming school years. Along with that, the breakfast averages have been put in, and a proposal of averages that kind of squeeze into that area as well. So I wanted to really take a look at that today and maybe open up some discussion on some of your thoughts involved in this. I do know that we know that this is a very important part of our kids' daily academic rigor, and this choice piece is something that our parents in the community are pretty passionate about, that they would like that available to their kids every day. I feel like this is an option and something that we do need to address, and part of that needs to be looked at is the fees right now.
Randy, can you hear me?
Yes, barely. I
took my mic off. Is there any way that we could have a week menu where they can go in and pick what they needed?
I'm still having a hard time picking up your audio. It's a little bit.
Try it one more time. I'm sorry, guys.
Were we able to get that headset back on?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Maybe this is too.
You're button. Anybody here through the meeting?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Randy, can you hear me?
Yes, much better. Yes, much better.
Okay. They said it was
They can't hear you?
They can hear me now with this on.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, so I was just saying that if we could
maybe look
at the menus so that they could
make a choice
for a whole week,
so that
so that our lunch people could plan
a
a little bit better for the week that they were gonna have.
See, the lunch menus, the hot menu items would be something that would be, that's a preset rotation. And by
Okay.
bringing in, I really like the idea, that's a great, we can do it a week at a time. We could do it even up to the night before as well. Doing it a full week in advance for a parent to select for their child what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat is very possible, and would be actually even easier for our lunch program as well, moving into a Monday scene. Part of this idea also is the fact that if we can get the kids selecting each week and each day, we can get a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work for the schools, and build that rotation to where it's manageable and the parents kind of have an understanding of that set rotation. And obviously it can be manipulated a little bit. There's multiple requirements with nutrition within a week that have to be met. So it's pretty difficult to squeeze 1 or 2 days here and there, but the rotation, I think, would be set up that would be a great idea. I mean, if it's a week at a time, or we could do both, but just a way that they can get in, submit that, so our ladies in that morning would know exactly what's going on. I see your point exactly, that as a parent too, maybe the option, they could have the option of once a week going in and selecting that whole week in advance of what they want their child.
And
They
what
wouldn't have to do it every day.
Yeah, that would be a great option. And I still think that could be, we could have it set up even whatever. It's easy for Lane and Jeep to get on and get that set up. They said they can do just about anything. It's just whatever is needed. And that's a great, I think that's an even better way to look at it moving forward.
And then could they pay for that at the same time?
What's that?
Do we have it set up so that they could maybe pay for that at the same time they pick for the week?
No, I think just as it's been explained, I think the law requires they're not going to pay for that meal unless they actually go and pick it up. I think that basically it's an honor system within our parents, and that's something that we could address with them individually if it becomes a problem. But this is basically to help our kitchen staff have accurate numbers so we don't have waste, and that the kids can be given that choice that they desire. And I think our ladies also now are getting really good at putting some of these sack lunches together. They have routines, and it's been a good opportunity for us to get out and look at some different options of things the past few weeks to give some variety, and we've been getting some really good feedback on what's working in that direction as well. So there's a lot of good that's come that way, a lot of good.
I noticed that Ken had his hand up. Ken, have you still got a question?
Yeah, sort of. I guess you're comparing around what the other counties around us were doing. Is there any information as far as comparing what those other counties would be as far as free and reduced lunch, what that would look like?
I didn't look at that. I don't know if Todd, if you have an answer to that.
It's out there. We can find
You're
it.
muted.
That's what my mom says.
Todd said that,
I think we've had that information because we've looked at surrounding districts of where they are at on the free and reduced side, so it would be pretty easy to pull up. I think we've had that information before.
Give me a sec, I'll see.
Okay, is there any other questions for Randy? Okay, Seeing none, then we want to move on to take action on this and approve or not approve the fee increase, whatever you're thinking.
The proposal that we kind of outlined and looked at is at the bottom of the page there. The new proposal, kind of an average of those different districts. I do feel that this is something we probably need to address a little bit more often so we don't get so far behind, or if we're in front, we can back off every year. I think it's something that needs to be looked at and monitored so we don't get in a situation where we're making big jumps trying to get caught up to averages. Something that I could be aware of, and perhaps every year bring back some numbers and we can look at it and see where we're at compared and where our spending is with our mills also.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion then to approve the new proposal for the school lunch.
Chris will make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Lisa seconded the motion. Okay, roll call. Lisa?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ken? Carolyn, aye. Thank you. I think that's unanimous. It was hard to hear, Ken. Were you okay, Ken?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Carolyn, I have that data that Ken was looking at. Do you want to share your screen with me and Superintendent?
Yes. Hang
Let
on
me
just
grab
a
my
second.
screen and
And I'm
Okay,
gonna-
so Todd found the information that we were looking for, and he's going to share the screen with us. Hi, Todd.
can you see the spreadsheet, Ken?
I cannot.
Well, that's not
No.
good.
And just a note, Jonathan Ward has joined us from Zions Bank.
Let's see, let's try this. Can you see it now?
Okay, you got it there now.
All right. So this, I'm going to try to get to a different view so I can see it. Let's pick a district. Which district do you want to look at?
Well, Millard was one that we were comparing to before, so it's the same districts, I guess.
Okay. So there's Millard right here. And in that yellow column would be their free and reduced lunch ratios. We run normally about 45 to 52% with our schools. So that'll give you a feel for, so they're fairly comparable.
Yeah. I guess my only reservation was that if we're going to raise it, but the lunch program is, if free and reduced is a concern to people, and that's one of the reasons that we have it. If our options are raising the cost of it, and that's reducing the ability for others to
Choose.
to obtain it, I guess.
Yeah.
Then if we could recognize it for what it was, if we're going to help, if this is to help the poor, then let's help the poor. If it's to just make convenient for parents, then let's say what it is. But it can't go both ways in all cases. So that was my 2 bits worth.
I think one of the highest prices we saw in that comparable was Iron School District. Is that right, Randy?
Yeah, iron also, the idea of choice within a school lunch day is something that the bigger districts are able to do, obviously a little bit at higher frequency. It's just something that that is going on at a lot of locations, and there are some parts that are difficult in that, but for the most part, I think that with that element of choice, it's been a positive thing if we're keeping kids eating our lunches, versus working out and doing different things. And if we agree or not, it's just something that's kind of out there, and our parents within the communities they like those sack lunches a lot. They don't like the days that they can't pick them sometimes, or the days they want them, and vice versa. So it's just something I think that would maybe ease that whole idea a little bit more, and just kind of go with it.
Yeah, so iron, it looks like the district totals out there, they're at about 41%. Free and reduced lunch. Let's go back to Millard. I don't think we saw the whole district. So Millard's total district would be 49, so pretty close to where we're at. That's a good question though, Ken, because really, aside from free and reduced lunch, sometimes we just provide the service just to help kids stay on campus and have the meal and the convenience for parents.
I mean, one thing too to consider, the free and reduced rate of reimbursement from the state is generally a lot larger than what people are paying, also are paying patrons. So there's quite, obviously it works together within the way that our district functions, but it does play a big part in that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other data you want to look at before we jump out?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. All right, Soup, you got it back.
Thank you.
Okay. Todd, we've got you front and center here.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, so we're going to move on.
we've got the adoption of the calendar.
Can we go back to school meals? For some reason, I don't have the motion in second.
Okay, the motion was
Chris,
and then Lisa seconded the motion. And then all voted in favor of that. Okay, adoption of the calendar for the 2021 school year. If you notice that it says on there, we're going to be home for half the year.
does it?
Yeah. No breaks, we're just all going to be home.
That's the new normal.
Okay, this calendar has been looked at by both unions have looked at it, and this is the one that they voted on and mostly agreed upon. So it's not always 100%, but it's probably the most popular. So we need a motion to approve this calendar for the next year.
This is Duke. I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Lisa seconded the motion. Lisa,
Yes.
Duke,
Aye.
Ken.
We have some discussion on this first.
Oh, excuse me. I forget sometimes. Okay. Let's go back and have the discussion. Sorry. Ken?
So maybe we've talked about this enough in the past, but if we're trying to get career and college ready, but we can't even give them a summer enough to get a job so that employers feel like they're getting something out of them before they go back to school, are we really accomplishing that? So I guess I'm saying, do we have any ability to adjust this and maybe push the start time back a little bit in August? or move the out date up in May. Because we got 2 weeks there in the middle of the winter where they've got not a lot going on. Why don't we move those days and change August back so we're not starting in the middle, but toward the end of August or something of that nature? If we can't change this, then let's go on, but that would be my preference.
I know that we've talked about this every year, but when we put it out to the employees, this is the one that they choose to go by. We have to have 189.
So it's not just that it's a choice of the employees. We ask the employees to choose within the parameters of what's required by state law, and we start the August date as late as we can with regard to the start and reporting cycles that the state requires for us. So I would love to see a longer summer as well, but that is not something that currently meets with the requirements for the state in terms of a 180-day school schedule.
So we can't get that 180 days in less days and stay in compliance with state requirements. Is that what you're saying?
We can't, as far as the start date, we might be able to end the year sooner and have a longer summer that way. But if we did that, we would have no breaks virtually all of January through May, just about.
Is there anyone else that has any input on this? Duke, you've been in the classroom.
Yes, I have. Long time. I believe this will probably be okay as long as we get out by the end of May. I don't know what else to do. I mean, I would like to start later in the year, but then you have to meet all the requirements, so.
Maybe talk a little bit, Duke, about how you feel about the breaks and how.
It's to have breaks. It's not just for the students, it's also for the teacher. It helps them to refocus and renew their energy and get back into the classroom and do a better job, I feel. We all need breaks once in a while. That's just the way life is. And breaks are good for us if we use them wisely.
Okay. Any other thoughts from anyone?
Maybe I could explain quickly too, the breaks that we have for spring break this year are together right where the third quarter ends, and then separated when we start into April around the Easter weekend. And that was a change that the teachers had requested when we put that together.
So they get the 5 days in March, or, well, counting the weekend. And then April, just the Friday and the Monday? Is that what they decided?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other thoughts on that? Okay, we have a motion by Duke and a second by Lisa. Are there any other concerns before we go on to the roll call?
No, but I might have to put my protest vote in there just so you're aware.
All right. It's been noted in the minutes, so. Okay. We'll start over on roll call. Lisa? Duke?
Aye.
Ken?
No.
Chris?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, thank you for your vote on that. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a letter of conflict of interest. Russell Carter, if you've seen the letter in the agenda, then you can understand. He called and said he was doing this, and so I suggested that he write this letter, just because he is the direct administrator over Russell. It could be taken either way, that Russell could have power over him, or he could have power over Russell to hold it either way. It's not always ideal to do this, but I told him that I would bring it before the board, and that if he put this conflict of interest together, that we would discuss that and act on it at this meeting. So do we have a motion to accept his letter of conflict of interest?
Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yes.
I mean, where they've signed that thing and they know what we're looking for and worried about and all that, I really don't have a problem. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I mean, if you think it's going to cause a problem,
I think that what we're doing is protecting ourselves, so that if somebody says to us, for instance, somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I noticed that Russell's got John out there working on his property.
right.
It looks a little, are they using, is it school time, or is it on the contract, or, then we can say, no, this is the deal we made, and we expect that they will stay within those parameters, that they're not doing it during school time, they're not using any school resources, they're not using it either way to hold the other accountable for the job they're doing, performance. There wouldn't be any performance issues. That's the thing, is what the perception is to the public out there.
Well, and I would just add with your comment, Mrs. White, that the idea of them holding it over each other's head, it's a difficult situation to put yourself in. So if the job doesn't go the way that was wanted, or something's asked for more, that's where the evaluation piece comes in, and we want to make sure there's not any foul play that way.
Well, I agree with that. I really don't think, where they know what we're worried about and stuff, I don't think it'll be a problem between those two. I mean, I don't, but I mean, if anybody else has a different opinion, But.
Personally, I wish they wouldn't do this, but this is their way of saying to us, this is how we're going to handle it. I don't know the circumstances of with anybody else putting this, or if that's how it was did, or if it was, I don't know that, because it's done on personal property, so I don't know. But I think it needs to go on record that we are aware of what's happening, and there are parameters set for this.
I agree with that. I agree putting in the record what, we've asked. I don't think there's a problem with that.
Okay, so I'm asking then for a motion to approve this letter, or to accept the letter.
see
Okay.
anybody coming in.
So I take that we are not getting a motion on this?
I'll make a motion. This is Duke.
Okay. Duke,
Makes-
I
Need a
had some
mo-
bad service there for a second, but I'll second it.
okay, is this Chris?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Duke and a second by Chris. Roll call vote. Lisa? Speak up, I can't hear.
Aye? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Okay. Chris?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is approval of the procurement of commodities for food services. Todd, this is under some of the financial stuff. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Every year we get an allotment from the state and federal government for free commodity food. And it's free to us, but we procure it in a total that's over $50,000. And so we've decided we need to come to you as a board and have this approved since it's over $50,000 every year. So that you know, though, Randy met with all of the food service cafeteria managers and the food service staff here at the district office. And this order was developed with everybody's input into that order. But we thought you should be aware of it and approve it so that you know what's happening every year.
So I've got a
Okay.
question on,
Okay, Ken?
in the past, I've heard that some of these commodities make it difficult in their meal planning and different things. So you're saying that all of the people doing the preparation work on that have been included in agreeing with this purchase?
That's correct. In fact, they were all in the same room together.
There was no reservation on that, then that's good. I'd like to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
During that process, it was such that we evaluate the potential of moving towards that calendar of a cycle, and the ladies worked through several different there's several different categories, and then there's subcategories, and they openly discuss what the item is. There would be phone calls that went up north several times asking specifically about that particular item, and they just work through it and take away. There's some give and take away until we get to that amount of money. For what the district goes through, it is a fairly small proportion, obviously, but the ladies have worked through it every year, and they have a good system, and they're all voiced. So we felt like it was a positive meeting, and they all had voice in it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the procurement of these commodities.
This is Kenneth, and I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ken,
Second,
Yeah.
Duke.
Duke, second. Okay, Lisa,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Duke,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. Okay, thank you. We are to the approval now of the warrants, budgets, and financial reports. We need a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion to approve those. This is Chris.
Okay, Chris,
Second, Duke.
Duke a second. Do we have any concerns or questions? Anything that needs to be?
I had one. I talked to Todd earlier on it. And he's just gonna look into it, so I think we're fine on that, right?
Lisa,
I can't hear you.
I know I'm looking
Oh, okay.
on it. I'm bouncing around between screens. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Mrs. Carter, we checked on the Milford Dominion check, and that looks like it's a clerical error.
That's what I thought it was. Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna meet next week and go through the bills again and just see what's happening there. But that's what I was told about 20 minutes ago, so.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
One thing I do want to point out to the group is on the credit card bill, if you could pull that up, or the credit card report. Superintendent, can you grab that? At the very top of that report, the very first entry, that is an accidental personal purchase on that very first line. I think it's
I just
50.
thought maybe it was a perk or something. That's pretty cool.
The principal caught it, and so did Becky, and we're working to get reimbursed and put procedures in place to keep that from happening again, so.
Well, that was 58. I couldn't decide if that's 58 cents or,
Dollars.
Dollars.
so I thought, well, something's not right there. Somebody's. Are there any other questions or concerns?
I was just wondering about the motels that were on the 20th of March. I didn't think we had any students out at that time doing things.
Is that on the credit card bill?
Yeah. Back on the credit cards.
It's so small to me, I can't see it.
It was on the 20th?
Yeah.
It was the 3/20 of March, 2020.
Who was the credit card holder?
I can't remember. It was Melford High School and Beaver High School.
I think it was, yeah.
On the credit card.
Yeah, it's on the credit card.
Was it Mr. Clough, or was it?
Well, it seemed like they took both schools, either it was track or before they went into closure.
There was one track meet that they did go to.
Yeah. It was right before we closed. I think they'd already got planned it. It was a Saturday, I think. They stayed overnight, probably Friday and Saturday. It's down on that next one, I think. Right there. Leader and me. Is that the one?
No, they were right together. It was Beaver High School and Melford High School, and they were both right
Oh,
together.
okay, that was earlier in March.
I can't see, it's too small.
Try to.
There you go. Thank you.
There, Comfort Inn's right there.
Yeah, student rooms, huh?
$1,326.
Okay, so that's the FCCLA.
Yep, and that was right at the closure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the FCCLA.
Okay, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, both, and I think they took one bus,
Yeah.
as I recall.
It's part of their annual CTE activities.
Okay,
All right, thanks for asking.
you bet.
Is there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion by Chris, a second by Duke.
So
We'll do a roll call vote. Lisa?
Hi, did you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Chris?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay. Did we already do that? No. It just seems like I keep asking it over and over. Okay. Do we have anything on the bids and RFPs? That
Just-
we
Just one update. Unmute here. So just one update on that. We are expecting to get our drawings on the music room for Beaver High School for the next board meeting. And that's still on track to complete the architectural work.
Okay, we do have Zion's. Are Zion's still on?
Yes, they are. I'm going to make them a host now.
Okay. Who's on, do you know?
Jonathan Ward.
Okay, Jonathan is going to be on to talk about the bond refinance that we talked about and approved at last board meeting.
Well, thanks, board members and board president. It's nice to be with you again. I don't know if Marcus has made it. Superintendent, do you see Marcus in the meeting yet?
I do not see Marcus in the meeting, so it's
Okay.
you.
All right, well, we have gone out for bid. We received we received bids from 4 different investors. JP Morgan Chase provided us the 3 best options, and the options included different prepayment features. The analysis basically came out better than we'd anticipated, but they decided they wanted to buy bonds that were completely taxable. No Cinderella bonds, no convertible structure. The other 3 bidders did offer a convertible structure. Capital One was another buyer. Bank of Utah was another buyer. And KeyBank was another buyer. So with that, we selected JP Morgan Chase as the recommended purchaser. My files don't. I opened up the file to look at the numbers, and it didn't look like it worked. I'll see if I can open it up again. Huh. No, it didn't. Sorry about that. I'm just opening up the files, and I see the first page in the file, and then the second page just blank. So as it converted into a PDF document, doesn't look like it worked. That being said, the district, with these different options, was able to save quite a lot of money, ranging from $332,000 of net present value savings. Those are dollars saved in present value terms. But we would lose any option to prepay or restructure the bonds at a later date. The other option saved us $316,000, so about $16,000 less, but still preserves some flexibility to prepay in 7 years or restructure if we needed to. And then the last option they gave us was an option to prepay and have that flexibility in 4 years. But the savings dropped down to $284,000 on a net present value basis. All of those are very good, very, very strong bids. So the other bids weren't as strong, saved us $146,000 or $128,000, and we're really pleased with those bids. We opted to do we opted to do the callable at any time after 7 years, sort of split the difference for $16,000 difference in savings, we thought it made a lot of sense to preserve some flexibility for a couple of reasons. If the district ever had a windfall of money and just wanted to pay these off in 7 years, you can do so. But maybe a little more importantly is as the district and the board talks about elections and capital plans in the near future, having some ability to modify debt terms could be useful in terms of that capital plan and that capital strategy. So leaving some flexibility made a lot of sense to us as a district's advisor. And that's sort of what we're showing on the bids, what we received, how it turned out. We were very, very pleased with the outcome because of the market that we're in right now being very much the rock bottom in the last 30 years. And even if we went back 60 years, we're very much at the rock bottom of interest rates. So it made sense to take advantage of the savings while we could. And that's all we have.
We appreciate your work on this, and it was surprising that we did as well as we did. I was quite pleased myself, so.
Yeah.
Very good.
Jonathan, can you summarize maybe the rest of the process through May?
You betcha. So we've received board authorization to do this. We've been able to sign the term certificate. The state of Utah has given us their guarantee, if you will, that if for whatever reason there's a problem making payments to bondholders, they're going to step in the interim to pay that payment. Right now, we're going through the bond document process. So there are comments being made on documentation back and forth. There are about 15 to 20 different bond certificates that are part of the closing process. So our job right now is to be reviewing those legal documents, making comments and giving those comments back to Gilmore and Bell, the bond attorneys on this transaction. We'll, once that's done, be able to close. That's scheduled for May 6th, I believe. Is that right, Todd? Is that what we're
6th or 7th.
So that's what we're planning. It's just document review, make sure we've got all those buttoned up and they're accurate and they accurately reflect what we think the transaction should look like. And then we will be able to jump on the closing. Closing involves JP Morgan Chase funding the bond escrow, if you will. So they'll give us the money. We'll be able to deposit that into the escrow account and purchase the U.S. government securities called the slugs, and be ready to close. The bond attorneys will pronounce the transaction closed once we have money delivered and all the documents signed, sealed, and delivered to them as well.
Does anyone remember the estimate Jonathan gave us last meeting?
It was about half that.
Yeah, I think it was 195. Does that sound right, Jonathan?
195,000 in savings.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? We're about 316,000 of net present value savings, and really, really fortunate. JP Morgan Chase has been bidding at absurdly low interest rates, and we're not exactly sure why. They've declined to bid on other transactions. I'm trying to convince them to bid on Davis School District bonds. They wouldn't do it. Try to get them to bid on Pleasant Grove City bonds. They wouldn't do it. So they liked your credit. They liked the amount of bonds. They liked the term. Everything worked well for them. So I think that worked in the district's favor. That was great. And they are very, very low interest rates. We're glad they bid.
Very good. Thank you.
You bet.
Has anyone got any questions for Jonathan? It doesn't seem to be. You've given us a really good rundown, and we appreciate all your help. And thanks for joining us today.
That's a nice way to say it. I was going to suggest I bored them to sleep. They just fell asleep.
No, we're not, I just want to tell you thank you for that, and that you and the superintendent really don't need to dress up to go out in the hills.
That's Capitol Reef. If you ever want to go there, it's a great place to visit. It's pretty isolated though.
Thank you.
I just want people to see Beaver in the spring.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to turn the time over to the superintendent to update us on the USB budget and spending recommendations.
So I've just included an email that I've received for board members to review here. I just wanted you to be aware that it's a very fluid situation right now. We're getting recommendations daily from USBE on actions that we need to be taking during the COVID-19. And with that, our approach to being very conservative right now is right in line with what the state's been recommending to us. So I just wanted to put this in here in case board members had any questions about the direction that we're going or what we're working on.
Has anyone got any questions? Okay.
So our policy for now has been to freeze hiring, and we are looking at ways that we can keep people fully employed still. We are putting out some recommendations on that will require people to do the work that's offered, but beyond that, we're sticking to our budgets pretty tightly right now. There will be a lot of carryover as a result.
I figure that. Okay. Do you want to just go into the waivers now for the schools?
Yes, so as we're looking at the waivers, all these are information items, but I felt like we should bring you up to speed on this. I've attached several of the waivers from the state. You see the summer slide phases that we're concerned about. This is something that was put out by the state superintendent this week. We are looking to address essential needs currently, work on gaps in learning over the summer, and then start developing our return and recovery plan. Right now, the waivers that we've received include waivers for lunches, waivers for our attendance, waivers for testing requirements, and there's quite a list of things that are being waived in the current learning situation that we're in. So on this presentation, you would have seen Superintendent Dixon's recommendations on the 5 priorities that we need to be working on. And right now, one of our big concerns with the announcement this week is the social-emotional wellness of both staff and students. So we've asked principals to go in and look for any of our students that have not reported in 10 days or more, and make sure that we're doing a home visit there, or making contact this week, and reaching out to them as we've set up on our 3-day schedule. Over the summer, we will have to look at learning needs there. Several students have gotten behind in the online environment, so we are looking at plans for offering some summer tutoring or some ways to catch up on coursework. And then our return plan, we are looking at data like this. Some districts use the NWEA and they know there will be a normal summer slide We're expecting that to be bigger, so knowing where students are in the fall and having a way to assess them and meet them where they are with learning in the fall is our focus. So that's a summary of some of the waiver things that are going on right now.
Has anyone got any questions? Any comments? Well, you guys are quiet. They want to get done with this.
I thought the financial guys bored them.
Okay, just for your update, we did get the waiver for the single day closure. This is when the Belknap had to close because of the furnace, the heating system being down. That waiver did come through, and we do not have to make that day up. So that's just information for you. Superintendent, do you want to go into the graduation grading and credit?
I do. So three very important conversations right now. I can tell you we are engaged almost daily with the principals in discussing this and now talking about task force or committees at each school working on graduation grading and credit. Both high schools are looking at ways to do a graduation ceremony. It was suggested this week that we will need to do a virtual graduation. We've never done anything like that before. We had talked about a parade as indicated in the board notes here. As we discussed that with the state, we don't think we can get authorization for a parade or any kind of an event that would cause people to gather. So that being the case, we are now looking at what our virtual options are and asking schools to involve students in that process of discussing how to do that. I think we had a great example with the Sterling Scholars celebration this last Friday, and we would love to do something similar, pre-recorded, where we can recognize each of the graduates.
I did have a call from my daughter who they're affiliated with the Crusher in the Tusher, and the company now that owns that really would like to do something for the Beaver County graduates, and they were trying to come up with, bringing their DJ down and making announcements and doing it on like over the TV, how we do the sports events, something. So there's ideas flying around out there. We just probably need to come up with something that would be appropriate, and we want to make sure that whoever is supposed to talk is able to do that online or whatever.
So we'll bring a plan back to the May board meeting, and I'll be informing board members of decisions and discussions as we approach graduation in May. Grading is another issue that we're trying to address. We need a way to verify. Yeah, we're not there yet. This will be an action item when we get to the end here, just for the direction. I wanted the board's support on the direction that we're taking here. But with grading, our emphasis at the 9th through 12th grade is to continue giving letter grades. We're working on a rubric for that with our high school teachers so that we award appropriate grades and credit for high school students in this setting. There was a plea by the state superintendent this week that we avoid giving Fs under the circumstances where both teachers and students are learning a whole new system. But with that, we still need to hold students accountable for the schoolwork that they're doing and give appropriate grades under the circumstances. So we'll continue working with principals and have them working with their staffs on the grading process for the high schools. In kindergarten through 8th grade, we are in a non-credit situation, so we're able to do a pass-fail model. And we'd like to continue with pass-fail, both for the ease of grading with teachers and students being able to do their work to the best of their ability. The credit, we are asking for some kind of a course disclosure from our high school teachers in order to match up the work that's being done with the credit that's being given. So we'll be doing that process as well. And there's some examples, a website here and a sample weightlifting class that I've included with your board notes. There was also the draft graduation and grading requirements from around the state. They've asked us not to share that public yet. It's not been something that's been ratified by the state board. So any questions about graduations, grading, or credit? And I'm just asking for support in the direction that we're going.
The motion would be on the grading and the credit, not on the graduation per se.
That's correct.
That will be coming back in May with recommendation on that. So just to support the superintendent in going ahead with the grading and credit and getting that out to the teachers so that they know what they're doing going forward.
This is a change in our normal grading procedures, why I brought it to you.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. This is Duke.
Thank you.
I'll second. It's Chris.
Chris, a second. Any other comments or concerns? Questions? Okay,
Just for
seeing
the
that.
record,
Okay,
I was just saying for the record, quiet is not always bored.
Thank you.
all right. Roll call vote. Lisa?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Cam?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, Superintendent, you got your work cut out for you for another few days.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Next will be the Belknap Elementary hiring approval.
We only had one.
That's correct.
So we need a motion to approve the hiring of Mackenzie Weiberg as a part-time kindergarten teacher. She's replacing Megan Stevens, who resigned.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Lisa,
Second by Duke.
second by Duke. Okay, Lisa,
Aye.
Duke,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. Okay, thank you. So we've got some policies here. The first one is the construction management procedures. This is the third reading. We talked about this, this management practices and procedures clear back in November, and we're just asking now if we can go ahead with the third reading and adoption of this. So Any questions? Anyone willing to make a motion? Adopt this as the third reading.
I'll make the motion. This is Duke.
Okay,
I'll second, Chris.
Chris? Okay, are there any questions or any concerns or any changes that we need to make on this? Okay, seeing none. Lisa?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, thank you. That one's done. Okay, so we got this policy that we wanted to, it's really done for this extraordinary circumstances and school closure. And it would be nice to have this in place, so we're asking you to give us approval for this policy.
Maybe a little background on this would be helpful. So we had no policy in place to deal with some of the federal and state directives that are being given to us under the COVID-19 circumstances. We anticipate that there may be some circumstances where there is no longer work for employees during a closure, and yet we're being asked to pay those employees in certain situations. This policy was put together with a desire to keep people working in their lane, whatever they've been hired to be doing. And our goal was to make sure people were doing something meaningful to improve themselves, to be a better service in that area, or contribute directly to the instruction or needs of students. And Mr. Brooks now sharing the policy online there. And any other comments, Mr. Burke?
Yeah. There's one thing that the federal government and the state government has in their procedures is that the board would need to adopt a resolution that says we're in an emergency situation before this policy could be used. The criteria, though, for someone to get paid time off without having to perform work in exchange for their wage or salary are these 4 criteria. And they would have to apply to the superintendent's office under this policy to receive that paid time off. So the 4 criteria are, they would have to reach a point in their job where all reasonable alternatives have been explored and exhausted for gainful employment. Number 2, that the employee intends to continue employment after the school closure or extraordinary conditions. Number 3, let's go back to number 2. That has to do with the unemployment insurance benefits someone might file for. So if someone decided to not work and then go to DWS to receive unemployment benefits, we would respond and say, no, they've signed an agreement to continue employment. So that's why number 2 is there. Number 3, the employee has completed all possible training and professional development opportunities. And number 4, there are no other reasonable work opportunities available, including work opportunities in other programs. So all 4 of those criteria would have to be in place before an employee would be given paid time off without work in those conditions. Now, in talking to the principals, it sounds like this would apply to mostly our part-time people. And if I was going to estimate, maybe a maximum of 10% of our part-time people. So maybe 10 people this could affect. Most of our principals think this would play in about the last week or 2 of school, that we're going to reach a point where we've exhausted just about every work opportunity for some of our people, just under the conditions that we have. I do want you to know that the state at the highest levels have reviewed this policy, and we have received positive feedback from those people. I've had multiple people now who have read this. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner, there's actually 15 people around the state right now looking at this. But we've shared this through all 41 school districts, and they've been looking at this extensively. This was presented to several superintendents yesterday by the state superintendent, and she told me that they received very good feedback from the superintendents who looked at it. And it's just a difficult situation. We're just going to reach a point where there really isn't a lot of work for some of our people in the last week or two. I think the most important thing is we want our part-time people to know that we value them and we want them to come back next year. So when we start up in August, hopefully that'll happen, that they'll be here and ready to go, ready to help us serve students. So. Does anyone have any questions about the policy? It's quite extensive. It includes a statement of eligibility, and it also includes that the employee and supervisor would have to develop a plan for closeout. And then, of course, Superintendent Long would look at the applications and review them before we did it for each person.
Okay, something that we didn't know we needed to do a month and a half ago, even a month ago.
Would have never considered.
And here we are. So we do need a motion.
I'll make the motion. This is Duke.
Thanks, Duke. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Ms. Chris.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, can't say that. Sorry, roll call vote. Lisa?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, thank you. The next one is the board resolution that we were talking about. And so we just need to approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Was that Duke?
Yes, sorry, Duke, second.
I know we forget. Okay, any other questions on this resolution? Okay, seeing none. Lisa?
Aye.
Duke?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. Okay, so I know Tina talked about she's not being able to come in either. If she's got questions, she's got to.
I just sent her the Zoom credentials. I haven't seen her join. We'll
Okay.
have to give some input later if that's the case.
Okay. So we don't have anything from our community councils. Did we have the approval for the Beaver High School trust land?
I do not have that on here.
Where did it go?
That's Milford High is the one that you're looking for. We did approve Beaver High last month on the 24th, I believe.
Or was Milford the only one that we didn't approve?
That's correct. And there's still some things that need to be done there. So we'll approve in May.
Okay, we got to get that in.
I agree.
Okay. Okay, board discussion. Superintendent?
believe I've talked enough during the meeting. I've shared the main concerns, which is just taking care of our students during this COVID-19.
Okay, you had the IGP update on there.
So on the IGP, we are going ahead with some summer services for IGP. So just like with the COVID-19, we're looking at that three-phase plan the state superintendents asked us to look at. We are also looking at providing some of those IGP services over the summer for those students that are most at risk.
Now, you may want to talk about that you have talked with DWS and where they're at on the grant.
Yeah, so the grant normally would have ended June 30th. They are filing for a 90-day extension of that, so that would take us through September. I have not heard yet back on where we're at with that, but that's where we're at on the extension there.
Okay.
And then as far as grants and funding applications, just know everything's very fluid right now. Several of our timelines and due dates have been pushed back into June and later.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Burke.
Yeah, let me jump to my notes real fast here.
Do you need a host again?
Nope, I think we're okay. I have two items. Someone mentioned maybe about trying to improve the new teacher orientation last board meeting.
Todd, your mic's off.
Oh, gosh. That's no good. How about that? Is that better?
Thank you. Thank you.
Last board meeting, someone mentioned about trying to improve the new teacher orientation. We were actually working on that. We've been working on an idea for a few months, and I think we're ready to share that with you now. We're thinking as a district that every time we hire a new teacher, we would like to bring each teacher in individually and have them meet with their new support team right off the bat. So you might be thinking about this or envisioning this, but imagine a new teacher who's going to come to Belknap because they've hired new teachers, and each teacher would sit in a meeting with their principal, their mentor, their technology coach, their HR director, and payroll people, and we would sit there for about 1 to 2 hours and prepare a plan for them to integrate into the system, beginning at that point. So everyone in the room would define their roles and responsibilities to help that teacher, and they would meet them face to face in that meeting. We want to start that off right from the very beginning. When that teacher leaves the room, they'll have an idea of what to do for the next few months through the summer to prepare for school in August, which would include everything from safe schools training, but even more importantly, they would get access to the technology systems, their teaching assignments, their key to the building, those kinds of things. And we want to do that individually with each teacher so that it's a custom fit plan for each teacher. Now we'll do this with Zoom just because of our situation, but Mr. Harris contacted me today and he's ready to do this now with the new teachers that he's hired. And so we'll start rolling this out, but we're pretty excited about it because a new teacher, they literally from day one will know their support team right up front and the plan to get them rolling into the next year. So is everyone okay with that, or is there anything you would like us to do?
I like that idea.
I do too. I think it'll make them, I don't know, I think it's good just to have the support right off instead of and know what's expected in that. So, good idea.
We think it'll be much better, but our goal is for the teacher to be successful and to keep them. We want them through that first 3 years to feel like they're on a plan to move forward. So We also think it'll help the principal to define everybody's responsibilities right up front, so there's no questions as to who's doing what, and the mentor will know their expectation to go in and do observations and what kind of help they should give the new teacher. So,
One question.
Go ahead, Ken.
What are the provisions in place if there's personality conflicts? We hired them for a reason because they have talents and abilities, but there's contention between personalities as we move along here. What things are put into place to maybe assist with that so that they can continue to reach that successful plane that we're talking about without allowing these other things to get in the way of that?
I wish there was 100% guarantee on that.
There's not, and that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, because I don't know of a magic button that will prevent that all the way through. But one thing I do think that we can be better at, Ken, is more of a collaborative type process to invite the new teacher to participate more in the process. And that's what we're hoping by starting things out like this. We want to empower the new teacher, not make it a one-way type dynamic.
Todd, how do we select a mentor?
That's a principal decision.
Principal?
Yeah.
But that's part of the question that I have there too, because if we can see that it's not working, you might be getting teachers that are exiting that have all the qualifications you wanted and were looking for, but because there are those things that we don't all resonate the same with everyone. So if we could change that mentor somewhere in there and correct that whole issue, we still have them on staff and they're doing what we need them to do, and they're not having to work in that other environment where it's not good for either of them.
Yeah, you're correct, Ken. That happens. And one thing, though, that we need to figure out a better way is for the new teacher to communicate with the principal those issues. Sometimes up front to a principal, it looks like it's okay, but behind the scenes on a day-to-day basis, it's not.
Well, I wonder if it's the principal that they're having issues with, then how do we have some kind of a procedure or something in place that they could maybe talk to someone else about and see what we can do to help bridge that? Those are things that we probably ought to look at, is if there's conflicts there with personalities, that we find bridges that they can work over.
I don't know, maybe this is something we can brainstorm a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, but as you know, statistically in Utah, at least up until the recession, I think it's pretty clear we're in a recession now, but statistically in Utah, we lose the new teachers with about 50% of them in the first 5 years of their teaching. So it's a real common experience in Utah for that to happen. Sometimes it's just things we can't control, but sometimes they just don't like it. Or
a lot of that comes from classroom management, though.
Yeah.
They can't manage the classroom. They're qualified to do everything but manage the classroom to where they feel comfortable, and the students do also.
It's a difficult job. I think parents have learned the last 5 weeks or so. It's not as easy as some think. It's a hard job. It's a really hard job. So, Ken, that's a great question. I wish there was an answer to that. On the flip side to that, I think if we had mentors and principals in the room, what they would say is, sometimes working with a new teacher, sometimes the new teacher just doesn't want to learn the profession. Maybe something to quote from Dr. Terry, but Dr. Terry used to say quite often, teaching is a profession and it requires continual improvement. And some new teachers just don't want to be a part of that. That's just...
I would agree, but on the flip side of that, you have those that are also in there and have been there for a long time that refuse to learn and learn ways to be help to those whom they're supposed to be helping.
Yeah.
So there's both ends to it.
I wonder if we could do an anonymous survey or something between the superintendent and the new teacher. just to try and, well, I guess not anonymous, but there's got to be a way to get that feedback, or at least offer the opportunity.
If we could come up with a questionnaire, maybe something that not only leaves some open-ended that they can fill in, some of their problems or something, but
Yeah.
like a Survey Monkey or something where you can.
The hard part is a lot of new teachers wouldn't feel comfortable doing that either, right? And fully disclosing just because of the dynamics of supervisor.
That's true.
But we could offer the opportunity. So, but overall, do you like the framework we're talking about?
I do.
Do you? I think it would be good. Lane and Jeep would be there for part of that, and they would give them their Chromebook and go through the technology part of it. And we'd just kind of go through the whole team with them.
It might be, excuse me, Duke, go ahead.
I think you also need the school technology person there also,
Yeah.
so that they have a relationship with them, because since so much is done with our technology nowadays.
That's correct. So our plan would be to have Reagan Williams, who's the school technology coach, in that meeting.
What about Becky Parkinson?
Yep, Becky would be part of that too.
Because she's,
There's probably 6 or 7 people who would be
yeah.
part of that.
Tina was not able to get online. I didn't get the link to her, but she has been texting me. I just wanted to share that her concern was that administrators have time with the new teachers in this process as well. And that's part of the intent here, is that we set this up so that the administrators will have that time with the new teachers and have all these other things taken care of to free them up for that. There was also, on a different topic, just a concern about making sure we get our IGP folks paid and get that taken care of, which is in process. And then some concern ongoing with teachers and being paid for a stipend of some kind for 1010 classes. So that's an ongoing conversation that we're having.
All right. Okay, Mr. Burke, is that what you wanted covered there?
Just have one other item. I've been working with SUU and the education department. Somewhere during the legislature, Senator Vickers approached SUU to develop an executive leadership program. And SUU has asked that I be a part of the curriculum development, possibly a professor. And I just wanted to check with you and make sure you're okay with that.
Is there any concerns?
I think that's.
Point.
I think
Does that
that'd
mean
be
we have to
cool.
call him professor now?
That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna ask.
Me.
What, your nickname? Do you put on the screen or not?
Yeah,
Mr. Burke.
Professor Baldy.
Baldy.
Baldy professor.
Really?
This is really a cool project, because what they want to do is put together a program to help administrators be more in a leadership practitioner type skill set. Senator Vickers has thought for what, I hear an echo. But Senator Vickers wanted to put together a program that helped administrators be more managerial and leadership thinking in their school assignments. So, kind of like an MBA for school administrators. Anyway, okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Ken, have you got anything on board reports?
No, nothing right at the moment, no.
Okay, Lisa.
No. I don't think so. It's been so long, I don't know. But no.
Okay. Chris.
No, I do not.
Okay, Duke,
Nope, they postponed our meetings.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
yep. Okay, I did have a 5-county online yesterday. It was not fun because it wasn't online, it was on phone. But that's not a fun way to have a meeting. We do need to consider what we're going to do to do the Barton scholarships. We need to get that taken care of. So we'll let you know on that one. Also, how we will present the scholarships to the serving scholars. And also the teacher appreciation dinner that we were going to have. We've got several that are retiring. We've got plaques here for them. So we will have to decide how we're going to do the employee appreciation. So those are things that we need to be putting some thought into, and it's really hard when you don't see each other and you're trying to brainstorm with a headphone on. So, but we'll come up with a way.
Okay, sounds good. I know, this whole thing is just weird. All I can tell you.
It is very, very different. I do want to give a shout out of thanks to our tech people to help keep getting us up and running in this meeting online world, and all that they've done to help us. Also to our teachers, our administrators. I think this has got to be a very difficult and challenging time for them, and I really appreciate all that they're doing to help our students, and appreciate everybody's work on this. It's totally an amazing process. I feel like we're much better off than some districts.
Yeah.
I just, on the news the other night, I saw and I can't remember, I think it was Hunter High School or one of those, that they were just finally deciding they needed to get computers out to all the kids. And they're working on that. So I feel like we were blessed to be where we're at, have the Chromebooks, and to have things as well along the way as we have. So, and thank you, board members, for all you're doing too. Appreciate you. How we're going to handle this, because we have to go into a closed session. We're actually going to end our meeting, our regular meeting, and then we will have to go into the other
Closed session.
closed
Regular Zoom
session.
meeting.
It's the other Zoom meeting on your email.
Yeah.
And we'll have to go into that to go into the different closed sessions.
We'll need to vote to go in.
Yeah, we'll need to vote now to go in before we close this meeting. And what we will do is we will have a motion to go into one kind of meeting, and we'll make a motion to go into the other kind of meeting. Is that how we'll have to do that? And then we will go out of this meeting, dismiss this meeting, and go into those closed sessions, and then we'll end from there. Our next board meeting will be May 12th, and depending on circumstances, we may be back in the same situation in May. But we've got to have a closed session for the character and competence of an individual. And then the other closed session would be collective bargaining. And was there one other? Just those two. Okay, so if we could have a motion to go into a closed session for character and competence.
Okay, I'll make that motion to go in.
Second.
Okay, Lisa made the motion, Duke. Okay, Lisa,
Aye.
Duke,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Ken. Ken?
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. Okay, thank you. We will go into that one. But we also need to make a motion now to go into one for collective bargaining.
I'll make the motion for collective bargaining. This is Duke.
Okay,
I'll second. Chris?
okay. Lisa,
Aye.
Duke,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Carolyn. Okay, we are going to adjourn our regular meeting and go into our closed session.
Yep.
And appreciate it. And so we'll be in touch with you